Hello students, today we are going to discuss about processes of recombinant DNA technology, in which we will discuss today about PCR technology. Then we will learn about how we can insert the plasmid inside the host cell, and that is the insertion of a plasmid. And finally we will discuss about bioreactors. In previous lectures we have learned about the isolation of DNA, then we have learned about how we can cut the isolated DNA at specific region, and then we have learned already about the how we can separate the DNA fragment, and out of that separated bands which is obtained, we can select the desirable character DNA. Okay, and then we can cut the DNA fragment after the ethidium bromide staining. Okay, and in under the UV radiation we can select the DNA fragment, and then we have to further amplify them. Okay, whatever our gene of interest must be amplified, and the process is called amplification. That is a one kind of multiplication. We have to multiply that gene of interest. Okay, so amplification of gene of interest by using PCR. So PCR is the technology by using which we can do this purpose. Okay, means gene of interest we can multiply in numbers. So polymerase chain reaction technique is the synthesis of multiple copies of the gene of interest. Okay, in vitro. In vitro means inside the test tube, using two sets of primers and the enzymes. Here we are synthesizing DNA artificially inside the laboratory, and that's why we have to add some precursors. Okay, and also we require some enzyme, that is a main enzyme which is responsible for synthesis of DNA is a DNA polymerase. Along with that DNA polymerase we have to require two fragments. Okay, that is RNA fragments and that is a primers. So two sets of primers and the enzyme DNA polymerase we require in this process. So primers are what? What is the primers? Primers are a small chemically synthesized oligonucleotides, that is a small fragment of oligonucleotides that are complementary to the origin of or a region of a DNA. So near to the origin of a replication, okay, when there is a DNA replication may occur, near to that region a DNA complementary sequences are called oligonucleotides. PCR technique require three steps, and that is the first step is a denaturation of a DNA segment, then annealing, and third one is the extension. So here you can see whole process. Okay, so this is the DNA strand. Okay, and you can see here denaturation occur. As a result of that, both the strand will be separate from each other. Then here you can see small fragment complementary to the DNA segment, and that is called primers, and primer is added here both the side, 5 prime to 3 prime direction and 5 prime to 3 prime direction, because the DNA synthesis will occur from 5 prime to 3 prime direction. So such a process is called annealing, addition of a primer. Okay, and as you add the primers, just you have to add DNA polymerase enzyme, that is a Taq polymerase enzyme, that is from Thermus aquaticus bacterial polymerase enzyme. Also you have to add some deoxyribonucleotides. Here you are synthesizing DNA, that's why you will require adenine, guanine, cytosine and thymine. Okay, so you know very well DNA is made up of nucleotides. Okay, so you have to artificially add the nucleotides inside the test tube. So DNA polymerase enzyme you should add. Firstly you have added the primers. Okay, that is a small fragment of RNA. Then you are adding the DNA polymerase enzyme, that is a Taq polymerase enzyme, and along with that you have to add deoxynucleotides. So by this way, by addition of these all, you can start the process, and as a result of that DNA synthesis will be extended. Here you can see fragment is synthesized, and finally you will, after running the 30 cycle, you will get amplified DNA, that is a 1 billion times DNA copies. So by this process you can generate or synthesize 1 billion times. So now let me discuss all steps in detail. So first step of any PCR technique is a denaturation. So denaturation, name itself suggests that it is a separation of both the strand. You know very well DNA is a double stranded structure. Okay, so both strand will be separated from each other. So let me understand how it will be separated. It is the heating of a target DNA. During denaturation, what happens? Heating of DNA will occur. Okay, and that is a gene of interest, DNA fragment, that is a gene of interest at high temperature. Mostly it is a 94 degrees Celsius. Okay, and as you provide 94 degrees Celsius temperature to the DNA fragment, it will separate the strands. As a result of that, DNA strand will be separated. Each strand act as a template for DNA synthesis. Means each strand will now act as a template for the DNA synthesis according to the sequence on the present on this strand. According to that, new DNA strand will be synthesized, and that's why it is called template for the DNA synthesis. After the denaturation, next step will be annealing, in which a joining of two primers. Here you can see you have to add two primers. Okay, so two primers you have to add here, one with this strand and second with this strand. Okay, so at that time you have to maintain the temperature 52 degrees Celsius. Then only it will be joined. Okay, and at the 3' end of the DNA template, it will be added to the 3' end of the DNA fragment. So addition of a primers is very important thing, because it is required for the initiation of synthesis artificially. So here you are doing the process artificial synthesis of a DNA, then here you have to add the primers artificially. After the annealing, next and final step is the extension. So during extension, DNA fragment will be elongated. So it is the addition of a nucleotide. As you know very well, here you are doing the synthesis of DNA artificially, and DNA is nothing but it is a polymerized form of a nucleotides. So many nucleotides join together to form DNA. So here you have to add some nucleotides, otherwise the elongation of DNA will not occur. So you have to add the nucleotides to the primer using thermostable. Here it is very important to use thermostable DNA polymerase enzyme, because you know very well enzymes are very sensitive to temperature. So here temperature is very high, that's why you have to use a thermostable, means the temperature stable type of a DNA polymerase enzyme, and that's why you have to use Taq polymerase. T4 Thermus aquaticus. T4 Thermus, AQ means aquaticus. This is one kind of bacteria. So this polymerase enzyme is a DNA polymerase enzyme which is responsible for synthesis of a DNA. So this enzyme is isolated from Thermus aquaticus bacteria, and that's why such a DNA polymerase is now called Taq polymerase enzyme. So this enzyme is very important for any PCR technique. Why it is important? Because here you have to use thermostable DNA polymerase. Otherwise this will be denatured. Enzyme itself will be denatured due to the high temperature. So here you have to use the enzyme which can withstand with the thermostat. Means it may be withstand with the temperature rise. So here you have to use the Taq polymerase enzyme. Why this bacteria is important for that? It remains active even with the high temperature. This bacteria is used to remain active with the high temperature. That's why their polymerase enzyme is very active during this temperature. And that's why we can use this Thermus aquaticus enzyme, that is a Taq polymerase enzyme, for the DNA synthesis artificially. So why you are using? It remains active even with the high temperature during the denaturation of the double-stranded DNA. That's why we are using this. Okay, so through continuous replication means synthesis of a DNA, the DNA segment is amplified up to the 1 billion copies. So here you can see how many numbers of DNA you can get by this method. Okay, the amplified fragment can be used to ligate with a vector for further cloning. So ligase enzyme, the ligation will be done with the help of a ligase enzyme, and by using this ligation process you have to add this amplified DNA into the vector, and then it will be used for the cloning purpose. Now let me summarize all the process. Here you can see this is the PCR instrument. Okay, this is the instrument by using which you can do the PCR technique. Okay, very small instrument actually, and that is also called thermal cycler. That is a totally automatic machine, and for that purpose, for any PCR technique, you will require DNA sample, that is of desired kind of DNA fragment. Then will you require primers, then you will require nucleotides. Okay, artificial nucleotides, here also artificial primers. Then Taq polymerase enzyme you will require. Then for maintaining pH, mixed buffer will be required, and then very specific kind of a test tube, that is called PCR tube, is required. That is a very small test tube, 2 to 3 inches long. Okay, that is a PCR tube, and this is the thermal cycler. So these all are the need or a PCR component, we can say. So by using these all component, you can perform the PCR technique. And when you perform the PCR technique, it will be followed by 3 steps. Denaturation first of all, okay, at the time 95 degrees Celsius, and then separation of strand will occur, and then annealing will be done. Okay, and that is at the 55 degrees Celsius, and you have to add primers. Okay, then extension, during which you have to add tech polymerase enzyme, then you have to add nucleotides. Okay, and that process will occur at the 72 degrees Celsius, and as a result of that, you can see according to the parent strand, you will get the newly synthesized strand artificially, and billions of copy of a DNA. After amplification of a DNA, and then it will be inserted into the plasmid by using ligase enzyme. Okay, so the plasmid will be treated with the restriction endonuclease enzyme. It will be cut down, and then a desired character containing DNA will be inserted into the plasmid, and by this way we can get the recombinant plasmid. You know very well the process. Okay, so by using any method, you have learned already how many methods you can, by using which method, means so many methods are there. So how you can enter these plasmid inside the host cell. You know the theory of competent host. Okay, so by using any method, whether it is a gene gun method, biolistic, that is also called, okay, calcium treatment, okay, lipofaction method, all that method, out of that on any one method you can select, and the ligated DNA is introduced into the recipient cell. Okay, that is a host cell. Here you can see this is a recombinant DNA or a recombinant plasmid, and now you have to insert these into this host cell. So by using any method, whether it is calcium treatment, lipofaction treatment, micro injection, okay, by any method you can insert this plasmid inside the host cell. Now this host cell become transform cell due to the entry of a recombinant plasmid. Now if a recombinant DNA bears the ampicillin resistance gene, okay, this is one type of selectable marker. So you can use how it is selected or how it is performing the transform or not. Okay, so it transferred into E. coli cell, and the host cell become ampicillin resistant. So if host cell become ampicillin resistance, not a tetracycline resistant, then you can definitely say that this cell is a transform. Okay, and if the transform cell are spread on the agar plate containing ampicillin only, transformant will grow. So here you can see this is a transform cell, and this is a non-transform cell. So non-transform cell do not have this plasmid. Okay, so cell, whatever the cell will have, and if they have the plasmid, that is a recombinant plasmid, they will have ampicillin resistance gene. And a normal cell, which is not means this is not transform cell. Okay, that is a non-transform cell. So they do not have this plasmid, and that's why they do not show any type of ampicillin resistance. Whereas here, due to entry of this resistance gene, okay, they will show, means transform cell will show you ampicillin resistance. So by this way, if you grow this type of bacteria on nutrient medium which is containing ampicillin, if the bacteria grow, okay, if grow, then it is considered ampicillin resistance colony only will grow. So if resistance colony only will grow, then you can definitely say this is the transform cell, or non-transform cell will not grow here, because non-transform cell cannot withstand with the ampicillin because they are not resistant to the ampicillin. So by this way you can select the transform and non-transform cells. So if the transform cell are spread on the agar plate containing ampicillin, only transformant will grow. Okay, rest other non-transformant will not grow here. Untransformed recipient cell will die, and as a result of that you can just select the transformant cells, and this is the transformant cell which are grown on the ampicillin resistance colony. They will show the ampicillin resistance colony. Once you transform the bacteria, okay, we can obtain the foreign gene product. So once you have added the gene of interest inside the host, then now host is ready to get the gene product, okay, or a desirable protein. The ultimate aim, this is our ultimate aim, main aim, okay, behind any recombinant DNA technology. This is the main or ultimate aim. The ultimate aim of a recombinant DNA technology is to produce desirable protein. This is our main aim. Okay, so if a protein encoding foreign gene is expressed in a heterologous host, it is called recombinant protein. So now this host will now produce, means suppose this target gene you have entered inside the plasmid first, then you have entered inside the host cell. Now this host will produce a protein which is of recombinant protein. Okay, not a host cell protein, but they will produce the recombinant protein now. So if a protein encoding foreign gene is expressed in a heterologous host, it is called a recombinant protein. For getting such a product of a recombinant product or a protein, we require some vessels, very important vessels, and they are called bioreactors. So for obtaining a foreign gene product, we require some vessels, important vessels, and these are called bioreactors. So let me understand what are the bioreactors. These are the vessels in which raw materials are biologically converted into specific product. So these are the vessels in which the host cell which is already transformed will be utilized, okay, for the production of a foreign gene product. So for that, biologically converted into specific product means they will convert some biologically converted into the specific product like enzyme, antibiotics, okay, using microbial, plant or animal or a human cell, by using any cells, okay, which must be transformed first. So bioreactor are used to produce large quantities of a product. They can process 100 to 1000 liter of a culture. So along with that you can obtain 100 to 1000 liter of cultures. A bioreactor provides optimal growth condition. Here you can understand this is the biological process that is mainly based on enzymes. So enzymes are very sensitive to temperature, very sensitive to pH, very sensitive to concentration of substrate, concentration of salts, okay, availability of oxygen. So here in this vessel all the condition will be required, condition will be at the optimum level, so we can get the high concentration of a product, high level of a product. So here optimal growth condition will be maintained inside the bioreactor, that is condition like temperature, pH, substrate concentration, salts, vitamins and oxygen availability. Okay, for that too we can get the desired products. In this slide you can see the structure of such a bioreactor here, okay, and this one. So first one, this is the simple state tank bioreactor. Okay, here you can see some fan like structures are there. This is a simple state tank bioreactor. This diagram is very important. So many times it is asked in the NEET examination, even in the boards also. So be very clear about this diagram and practice it. And second diagram is of sparse steel tank. Okay, so here sparger will be there, that is will required for the oxygen availability below the tank. Here you can see below the tank there is a sparse steel tank, this is called. So this is two type of bioreactors which are available. Most commonly used bioreactors are of stirring type. Okay, steel tank reactor. So all the component inside the bioreactor mixed together evenly. It is usually cylindrical or with a curved base. Here you can see base will be curved. Okay, like this. And to facilitate the mixing of reactor content, the stirrer facilitate the even mixing. Means even mixing is very important here. Okay, because otherwise what happen? Some place will have high amount of acid, some place will have high amount of concentrated components. Okay, but here if you use stirrer, then this is the stirrer. By using this stirrer you can mix all component evenly, uniformly, okay, and that's why oxygen availability will be very easy. Alternatively, air can be bubbled through the reactor. Okay, sometime from the bottom here you can see sparger is there. So this is one kind of sparger. Out of that, this is a pipe-like structure, and from there oxygen will be fulfilled. Okay, so alternatively, if you don't have stirrer, then you can use the oxygen bubble. Okay, because this all reaction require oxygen. In presence of oxygen only this all product can be formed. So these are the two kinds of bioreactor: simple steel tank bioreactor or sparse steel tank bioreactor, and through which sterile air. Here in this slide you can see a list of parts of a bioreactor. So first here you can see that is the agitator system that is required for the uniform mixing of a bioreactor component, then oxygen delivery system, that is a sparse system, and then foam control system, then temperature control system. As I told you, these all reactions are enzymatic reaction or biochemical reaction which are under the enzymatic reaction, and that's why all enzyme, as I already told you, that enzymes are very sensitive to pH and temperature. That's why both parameter must be maintained well or a constant. so get the desirable protein and desirable gene products. Or here you can see pH control system is also there, and some sampling port is also there, and that is required for periodic withdrawal of the culture. Last step of recombinant DNA technology is a downstream processing. So in which what happen, it is a series of a process such as a separation and purification of products. So after production of a raw process, okay, this is the bioreactor in which all the process occur, biochemical reaction occur. As a result of that, you get the product. Okay, but this product will be in impure form, so you have to purify them. So for that you have to separate it from the bioreactor, then you have to apply some pressure, okay, then temperature, then by this way series of reaction will occur, and finally you will get the final product, and then you have to pass it from the quality control, character checks, okay, that is a quality checking, and then the product is formed with the suitable preservative for long lasting. Okay, so you have to add some preservative to it. Such a formulation undergoes clinical trials, and strict, if it is a medicine, then it must be passed through clinical trials, and strict quality control and testing is required. So this is your homework for today's lecture, and before we finish our lecture, let me summarize all topic by using one animation video. So look at this video.
The next step is the amplification of the gene of interest. The extracted DNA sample can be amplified or used to make multiple copies by using a technique known as polymerase chain reaction or PCR. The PCR technique was developed by Carey B. Mullis, who was awarded the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 1993. PCR has 3 steps: denaturation, primer annealing, and extension of primers. In the first step, the isolated or extracted target DNA segment to be amplified is heated to 95 degrees centigrade for denaturation. This leads to the separation of 2 single strands. In the second step, the solution is cooled to around 55 degrees centigrade in the presence of oligonucleotide primers that are complementary to DNA regions. Now, 2 oligonucleotide primers anneal or hybridize to each single-stranded template DNA. Annealing sequences are located at the prime ends of 2 strands of the desired segment. In the third step, the temperature is raised again to 72 degrees centigrade. Now an enzyme called Taq polymerase is used to build 2 new strands of DNA, using the original strands as templates. Taq polymerase is isolated from the bacterium Thermus aquaticus. It helps extend primers towards each other so that the DNA segment lying between 2 primers is copied. Later, each of these strands can be used to create 2 new copies every time. The cycle of denaturing and synthesizing of DNA is repeated 30 to 40 times to get 30 to 40 billion copies of the original DNA. The PCR is an automated technique which can be completed in just a few hours. It is executed by a machine called a thermocycler, which is programmed to alter the temperature of the reaction every few minutes to allow DNA denaturing and synthesis. These first 3 steps, isolation of DNA, fragmentation by restriction endonuclease, and amplification of gene of interest, are important steps in recombinant DNA technology that are carried out using specific techniques. Recombinant DNA technology is an important tool in understanding the structure, function, and regulation of genes and their products. It is a complex step-by-step process. The first few steps in DNA recombinant technology involve the isolation of the genetic material, fragmentation of DNA by restriction endonucleases, and amplification of a gene of interest. Once the foreign DNA has been extracted, the next steps are insertion of recombinant DNA into the host cell or organism obtaining the foreign gene product, and downstream processing. Let's understand the techniques used to carry out the last three steps. Insertion of recombinant DNA into the host cell is one of the most challenging steps, as first the bacterial cell has to be made competent to receive the DNA. If we consider the insertion of a recombinant DNA-bearing gene for ampicillin into the host cell E. coli, the host cells will become ampicillin resistant. Thereafter, when the host cells are spread on agar plates containing ampicillin, only the transformants will grow. On the other hand, non-transformant recipient cells will die. In this case, the ampicillin-resistant gene acts as a selectable marker since it identifies and eliminates non-transformants and permits the growth of transformants. Let us now understand how to obtain a target protein from a foreign gene of recombinant DNA. If any protein encoding gene is expressed in many hosts such as plant cells, bacterial cells, and fungal cells, it is called a recombinant protein. Cultures such as an ampicillin medium may be used to extract the desired protein. Then this protein can be purified by using different separation techniques such as nitrocellulose filter and autoradiography. After the purification process, the cells storing cloned genes of interest may be grown on a small scale in the laboratory. These cells can also be multiplied in a continuous culture system in which the used medium such as ampicillin is drained from one side, while a fresh medium is added from the other, so that the cells can be allowed to remain in their most exponential phase. Therefore, a continuous culturing system produces a large number of cells with recombinant DNA or biomass, which results in higher yields of the desired protein. To produce biomass in even larger quantities, a bioreactor is used. It is a vessel used to carry out a chemical process. A bioreactor uses raw material such as microbial plant, animal or human cells, and converts it into products such as enzymes. About 100 to 1,000 liters of culture can be processed in such units. It facilitates the growth of a large volume of biomass by providing optimum growth conditions in terms of temperature, pH level, substrate, salts, vitamins, and oxygen. The most commonly used bioreactor is the stirred tank type, which consists of a large stainless steel vessel with a capacity of up to 500,000 decimeter cube. Around the steel vessel is a jacket of circulatory water used to control the temperature inside the bioreactor. There is also an agitator inside the bioreactor comprising a series of flat blades which can be rotated with the help of a motor. This ensures thorough mixing of the contents so that nutrients come in close contact with the microorganisms. The agitator also prevents settling of the cells at the bottom. The bioreactor also makes adequate provision for aeration, temperature, and pH control. For proper aeration, air can be forced in at the bottom of the tank through a porous ring called the sparging ring by a process called sparging. Moreover, there is an outlet to remove air and waste gases at the top of the tank. The top of the tank also has a number of inlet tubes called ports, through which materials can be introduced or withdrawn. For example, the inoculation port is used to introduce initial inoculums and the nutrient port to introduce more nutrients. Similarly, the antifoam port is used to introduce antifoaming agents, while the pH port to introduce acids or alkalis to maintain optimal pH. At the base of the tank, there is a harvest line to extract the culture medium and microbial products. Another type of bioreactor is the one with a sparged stirred tank. Sterile air bubbles are sparged through this reactor, which increases the surface area for oxygen transfer. Once the biomass has been obtained from the bioreactor, the final step in the recombinant DNA technology is downstream processing. It refers to the recovery and purification of biosynthetic products, such as pharmaceuticals, before they are brought to the market as finished products. In downstream processing, pharmaceutical products such as antibiotics and hormones are formulated with suitable preservatives. Thereafter, these products are also subjected to clinical trials and quality testing. By aiding in the development of these new medicines and vaccines, recombinant DNA technology has revolutionized medical science and opened new vistas of research.
In next lecture, we will have revision test 1, so be prepared. Until that, goodbye.